And there's Christmas all over the place. Christmas in your hair. Christmas encrusted on your watch. Christmas in your sofa cushions. Oh God, there's Christmas on a dog. Too much Christmas, maybe. Somebody get the Christmas mop. Ah, yes, Jesus. Perhaps the original Jesus. Perhaps not. Glory to the baby king. Hail the baby king. Do not engender the wrath of the baby king. Oh, Christmas tree. Nobody understands me but you. You can-fested fuck. Oh. Time to get this shit show on the road. Hello. Hello, Internet. Hello, junior adventurers. Hello, listeners. Hello, readers. Hello, Christmas goblins. Let me just mix that Christmas vibe down a little bit. Let's get real. How you doing? Anyone in the chat? Is it still work time in America? Still working hard? for your freedom. Yeah. Austin in the chat says hello. It is I. It certainly is. Good on you. Well, you know, it's nearly Christmas, and that's kind of important, I guess, but also it's the 12 days of Shingles, where we are counting down with our very own Emily Kaplan, authoress and star of the Calamity Janes podcast. Please do check that out on our YouTube channel. And she, every year, runs down 12 exciting Shingles tales and reads through them and invites you to read along. You can join us in our Patreon or on our Facebook group, or you could just join us in your hearts. That's fine too, I suppose. So what we're trying to do, just to, you know, mix it up a little bit. Just remind you guys that we're out here and listening to you, and you're listening to me. I don't know why we're doing this. We're doing this for fun. It's fun. I'm not lonely. You're lonely. It's nearly Christmas, so, you know, read a Shingles book. I guess that's the takeaway from this. It's admittedly not a great takeaway. Where is everyone? Come on, you're all at work, aren't you? It's nearly Christmas. You should be slacking off by now. Not that I am. If anyone from work is watching this, I'm working very hard. It's 11 o'clock on a Monday. This is like my second beer. This is fine. Well, I was hoping for more Christmas goblins in the chat, but I don't know. Maybe you're wrapping presents. Maybe you're out seeing friends and family. Maybe you're just a bunch of ignorant bastards. Nah, it's not the last one. It's not that one. Anyway, can you hear me all right? Am I coming through loud and clear? You feeling the Christmas cheer? I know I am. I'm on my second bottle of Christmas cheer. Are we ready to get spooky? Shall I talk about my Shingles book? I should probably talk about my Shingles book. Alright, let's go. Let's talk about the Shingles book. Today I'm going to be reading Silent but Deadly Hill. It's the YA classic I wrote, based on, astute listeners may observe, the popular Konami video game franchise Silent Hill, which is one of my favourite video game franchises, and like all things that I love, I must try and destroy. So it's a parody of the Silent Hill. I don't know if you spotted the clever joke I made with the title, but Silent but Deadly Hill refers to a fart, which is basically on the strength of that joke I wrote an entire 20,000 word short story, and I guess I'm going to read you some of that now. Austin, you sound great, pal. Sexy. Oh, thank you, Austin. Some of you have been saying that, like, I've got a pretty sexy voice. That's alright, but if I've made you come, you need to buy a book. That's the deal. I don't ask a lot. I mean, these are like 99 cents. That's pretty cheap. Kind of a book slag. Dirty Christmas book slag. Yeah. Should I get down to this? This isn't really a Shingles book. I sold all my paperbacks because I am a dirty Christmas book slag. This is Sigmund Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams, which probably got more cocks in it than your average Shingles book. Probably. I reckon. I haven't read it, obviously. I don't know. Sometimes I keep interesting books lying around, so people think I'm more interesting than I am. It doesn't work. But yeah, if anyone should write a Shingles, it should probably be Freud. Be great at it. You know, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. but not in the Shingles universe. Okay then, are you all sitting comfortably? Uncomfortably? Standing against a brick wall in a piss-stained alleyway? I don't care. Oh, Daniel Nestor's just popped into the chat. Howdy, can only stay for a few minutes. Oh, and Bailey likes my scarf. Hello, Bailey. This is a very cozy scarf. E.M. Kaplan made me this scarf for a present. It's very dear to me. I'm wearing it indoors to create a cozy Christmas atmosphere. It's not because I can't pay my heating bill. That was a vicious rumour. Okay, well, we've got a couple of people watching. Daniel can only be here for a couple of minutes, so let's get started. Let's read the first chapter of Silent but Deadly Hill by me, Steve Wetherill. It's difficult to tell how drunk my dad is. It's not difficult to tell when he's drunk, because the instance of him being sober has never really come up. It's just that there's no real difference in his demeanour when he's had 1 bottle of vodka or 8. It's a talent, I guess. One time he managed to sit through an entire PTA meeting after 22 tequila slammers. He sat through the whole thing, tie done up straight, legs crossed delicately, fingers pressed thoughtfully at his stubbled jaw. Then, when Miss Abara had opened the floor for questions, he'd carefully stood up, unzipped his fly, and urinated noisily onto the floor, completely oblivious to the shock and outrage around him. To this day I can never tell if he'd simply forgotten where he was, or if he had really strong feelings about removing Chaucer from the English curriculum. My dad was either wasted or really wasted. And not even me, his own son, the kid who saw him at least every Saturday, could tell you which was which. That's why I was a little apprehensive as he pulled up in his Jeep Cherokee outside the abandoned gas station. He rolled down the window and fixed me with his usual 1,000-yard stare. It seemed like he knew who I was. He must have recognized me, right? After all, he arranged to meet me here at this abandoned gas station. Well, that's not quite true. He sent me a text message reading, "Meet for a gas before the pale man is high." Now, you might think that was a sure sign he's definitely on his 22nd tequila slammer, but you'd be wrong. Maybe. See, my dad is cryptic as fuck. I have no idea why, but he rarely gives a straight answer for anything, and most of his requests are heavily encoded in poetic license. But I'm his son, and though I'm only 14, I'm pretty good at figuring out his puzzles. It was pretty obvious he wanted me to meet him at the abandoned gas station next to the equally abandoned Lucky Hot Dog Real Meat Bonanza food stall. Before the pale man is high was either a reference to the moon reaching its zenith, or when the hippie guy who lived under the food truck started injecting, but either way, 7 o'clock had seemed about right. My dad doesn't say anything, just nods at me and waits for me to get in. I do. The Jeep smells like it always smells, like the pavement outside a bar. We sit for a time before he speaks. "Jonathan," he says, "does your mother know you're here?" I shake my head. "That's good. I wouldn't want her to worry." Privately, I question if a woman who is by now mostly Xanax might have the capacity for worry entirely burned out of her emotional circuitry. But it seems rude to bring it up, so I don't. As my dad stares pensively into the dusk of the neglected parking lot, I think of a way to break the silence. "So, my voice cracks, so I clear my throat. "How are things?" My dad's eyes widen and his knuckles turn white on the steering wheel, but he doesn't turn to look at me. "What do you know of the things?" he whispers harshly. "I just meant like things in general, you know?" "Oh? Oh." He blinks a few times. "Yeah, super great, awesome. Things are swell and everything is absolutely fine." I look at my dad. He's wearing the same brown leather jacket he always wears, the same neat jeans with only a telltale dark stain here and there. His well-kept shoes remain tightly laced. Just as it's impossible to tell just how drunk my dad is, it's also pretty much a given that he'd look exactly the same whether he just finished a shift at his office or spent 3 nights in an underground cockfighting ring. For all I know, things really are absolutely fine. By his standards, at least. I check the footwell and note the usual number of empty liquor bottles. Nothing out of the ordinary. I decide to get to the point. Dad, are you having a nervous breakdown? My dad nods. We're all having a breakdown, Jonathan. But some of us know to stay off the highway. Some of us are on the back roads. Some of us know where to find a mechanic. Some of us have a discount card for loyal patronage. Dad, you're doing that thing again where you say a lot of stuff that doesn't really mean anything. Dad nods. None of us really mean anything, Jonathan. We're all just bubbles on a stream of cosmic horror, waiting for the mercy of entropy to pop us out of existence. Yeah, I got it, Dad. I'd wonder if he was having an existential crisis. But if that's just your baseline way of being, can you really call it a crisis? If the earth is constantly shaking, when would you stop calling it an earthquake? So, I try again. Was there something you wanted to tell me? Dad nods, slowly, his eyes still fixed on the dark. We're going on a trip. Now? At night? Best time. Maybe the only time. I shift in my seat a little. I don't get to hang out with Dad very often, and I always love the idea of taking a road trip with him. Only, are you okay to drive, Dad? He reaches under his seat and comes back up with 2 greasy paper bags. On each one there is a logo featuring what looks like a chicken rubbing an enchilada on its groin. The chicken looks awfully serious. I recognize it as Polo Polo Polo, maybe the cheapest Mexican-adjacent food on the planet. They're not even technically allowed to refer to themselves as Mexican food, after a rare class-action lawsuit by the entirety of Mexico sued them for defamation. My dad tosses one in my lap. Here, he says, we'll both be fine after we eat this. I don't believe him in the slightest, but the smell of melted cheese and grease is already bypassing my common sense and making promises to my gut. My dad shoves a taco into his mouth and starts the engine. The Jeep's headlights pierce a pathway through the heavy gloom. Where are we going, Dad? Dad chews some more, swallows and belches. Then he turns his dead gaze onto me for the first time since I entered the car. Sluent Hill. Ooh, and that's the end of the first section of this. I just got to take a little break to see this is definitely streaming, because I've had some technical difficulties before. Zach in the chat. I live. Good? Excellent? Glad to hear it. Austin, could you turn the book pages occasionally? It would be much more realistic. No. This is here to make me feel bad. This has nothing to do with you. This is to make me feel more comfortable about the whole experience. If I'm just sitting here like looking in the eye and reading this, it's going to be weird for both of us. Unless you like that kind of thing. In which case, we can work something out. Okay. Just having a little look around, seeing if anyone's about. Have you finished work yet? You still working hard, America? Oh, that's good. I believe in you still. No one else does. Okay, well, don't be sad, Austin. I was only joking. Well, I still seem to be streaming as frequent YouTuber followers of our channel. I don't know what to call you. What do you guys call yourself? YouTubeites? May know we've had a couple of technical difficulties. Not alcohol related, just technical difficulties. But we seem to be going. Strong. So I guess I can continue reading from this Shingles book, which is it's an illusion. Zoe Tassia, so you're not reading? No, I'm reciting all this from memory. I'm that good. Aaron Kelly, Junior Adventurers. Yeah, you're right. Junior Adventurers. Junior YouTube Adventurers. Steve Latter, England is the parent that causes the child to need a lifetime of therapy. Yeah, and therapy is good, so I don't know what you're talking about. Zoe Tazzy said, carry on. Alright, Jesus. I realise I was on the fucking clock here. Alright. Let's read some shit. The reading not from a book matches the hat and scarf with the short sleeve t-shirt. I am a man of contradictions. I'm an enigma. A bundle of mystery. This is not actually a scarf. This is a cottagecore leash. I'm really big in the cottagecore kink community. If you ever wanted to see me get buggered by a man in a tweed jacket, I don't know how it goes. I've stumbled into a hole here. I don't know where this joke is going. Apparently, with me getting buggered by a man in a tweed jacket, not that funny. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Okay, right. Let me just bring up the reading file. I'm not really doing this from memory. I'm reading off the screen. Zoe Tazia says, true. You saying true? It's not that funny? Oh. Zoe, you are a wicked taskmaster. Masker? Taskmaster. See, Austin thinks I'm funny. You bastards. Okay, let me remember what I did with the file I was reading from. Okay, here it is. I found it. It's fine. Everything's fine. Zoe says the booze is actually a nice touch. Yeah, that's what I keep telling myself. This is just this is a nice touch. To be fair, I'd be slurring the odd word anyway. I'm not great at talking. I picked an odd career choice, didn't I? Oh well. I'll get by on my indefinable X factor. Austin, drunk boy is funny. There you go. I think we just pinned down my indefinable X factor, haven't we? It's because I'm pissed. Okay, let's go. Let's read this bad boy. I have no idea how long we'd been driving. After the first burrito, some sensible hormonal triggers in my body began a somber shutdown of non-essential systems as they focused their attention on dealing with a pseudo-meat disaster I had voluntarily shoved down my gullet. My sleep had been fitful, filled with half-formed dreams and a pervasive but unnameable discomfort. I awoke to an awful smell. "We're nearly there," my dad says. I opened my eyes just in time to see an old wooden sign in the grey dawn light. Sluent Hill. No entry. No dumping of hooker corpses. No manifesting undiagnosed emotional trauma. I blink as the sign floats past through the morning fog. Pardon me, I just have to make like a Christmas noise. I'm not drunk and lonely, you're drunk and lonely. I blink as the sign floats past through the morning fog. Though it looked old and unkempt, someone had recently amended hooker corpses to read sex worker corpses in what looks like red paint. I endeavoured to speak while simultaneously sucking the foul-tasting gunk from my mouth. "Do they have a problem with dead sex workers here?" I said. My dad shrugs. "Haven't been here in a while, but I'd assume so. Not a lot of people come here after all." I frown, a little puzzled. That was a surprisingly straightforward answer by my dad's standards. "Why's that?" He gestures out of the window where I can barely see the Midwestern countryside for the fog. Sluin Hill was famed for its energy recycling plant. The whole town's energy grid basically ran on human shit. I look at the fog and realize it has a brown tinge to it. I'm not sure I like where this story is going. Sounds pretty progressive, I say politely. Like environmentalist or something. Nah, nothing that gay. My dad waves a hand dismissively. The plant owner was pretty corrupt and made some serious money importing shit from other towns. The city council let him dump the excess in the abandoned silver mines. Pretty soon the entire town was sitting on a massive bubble of human waste. Then, one day, some idiot had a gender reveal party too close to event, and then boom. The town exploded? Parts of it. I think the underground fire will take another 25 years or so to burn itself out. In the meantime, most folks left, and those that stayed behind just kind of learned to live inside a permanent Dutch oven. That sounds awful. A crack in my voice betrays my naive hope. It sounds like maybe we shouldn't go there at all, ever. We have to, Dad mumbles. We have to go back. Why? I realize Dad is sweating pretty hard, and his eyes look a little too wide. Had he slept? The sins of the father, he growls, his casual lucidity apparently coming to an end. The sins of the father must be visited onto the children, and as no man is without sin, so must all children become the man. Circles within circles, sin without end. We go to our fates, not because we choose to, but because wherever we step, the path only goes one way. Dad, you're scaring me. He turns those wide and sharp eyes on me as he continues to drive the car irrecoverably into the brown fog. You should be scared, he says. If you had any idea what... His voice trails off as an inhuman growl emanates from somewhere. Oh God, he gasps. Dad? I realize the growl is coming from his stomach. I wonder how many Polo vaguely Mexican snack products he has consumed. The growl reaches a terrifying crescendo. As it does so, the car radio, heretofore silent, blares out a high, ringing static. I feel more than hear myself scream as my dad begins to moan loudly. I realize he is losing control of the car as a ripping, ominous fart tears its way out of his guts, filling the car with a smell so terrible I briefly lose all reason. I think I see a shadow ahead of us in the fog, something humanoid but not quite human. And then the car sways, lurches, and spins. My senses are overwhelmed, my eyes are blinded with tears, my ears are filled with the screams and the screeching of tires, and my nose is clogged with what I assume is enough fart particles to constitute an actual human turd. I am jolted in my seat as the car comes to a sudden stop. My head spins and I feel myself slipping away from consciousness. I hear the car horn blaring. But over and above this, I hear the final spluttering of a fart that is surely and terribly much more than a fart. When the darkness comes, I am grateful for its arrival. Oh, there we go. Zoe Tassia, be better if you shared, but... And also message retracted. Zoe? Well, I don't think I've ever seen a message retracted on our YouTube channel. My word. Whatever could it mean? Maybe best not to speculate. Here I am talking about fart particles within the nose constituting an actual human turd. But apparently you said something that needed to be retracted on YouTube. Which of us is the real monster, Zoe? It's Bevan. Bevan is the real monster. This is all mostly his fault. I'm barely an accomplice, really, if anyone asks. Anyone like legal. Just taking a little break. Zoe, please tell me he picks turds from his nose later. No, that was just a metaphor. But there's more turd-related activities later. But I'm not reading all of it. You'll have to buy the book to truly experience just how shit it is. Is everybody enjoying the reading so far? Is everybody reading along with the 12 Days of Shingles? It's not just me. There are Shingles stories by Robert Bevan. I believe the next one is by R.E. Carr, award-winning authoress. R.E. Carr is stooped to writing the Shingles. A couple of them now, actually, but I believe the next one is Guy in Real Life 2. So keep an eye out for that. Austin, what you drinking, pal? Oh, I'm drinking a Shipyard American IPA. And by American, I think they mean just a normal IPA. It's fine. It's great. It'll do. People get a bit weird with IPAs. I think that's why they've got a bad rap. They get a bit funky. Starts tasting like somebody put a pineapple in a sock and made you lick it. Which, it's not a pleasant experience for anyone. And, you might be into that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know you. I'm not judging you. But this is just kind of generic. 5%. It'll do. It's alright. It's Christmassy. Well, it's not Christmassy, is it? It's fine. So yeah, plenty of Shingles authors to be aware of in this run of the 12 Days of Shingles. Do pop into our Patreon for more information, or our Facebook group if you don't want to pay money to us, which, that's fine. You got to save up all your Christmas dollars for Christmas stuff, I guess. You Christmas goblin. So, yeah, the idea is like you buy the book that I'm reading. It's like 99 cents. You don't have to buy it. You can wait for the audio collection to come out and have a much more competent narrator read it. Somebody who doesn't slur every 12th word. Austin says, lol, Guinness is my beer of choice. Yep, I like Guinness. I do like the dark stuff. Speaking of dark stuff, let's go more into this tale of terror and farts. Alright, I'm just going to find the file again. Find my place in the book. Oh, there are pictures in here. No dicks. Okay. Let me just set this up so I can see your comments. Here we go. I wake up for the second time that morning. The car horn has stopped its mechanical panic and the world is filled only with the ringing in my ears. I look to my dad and discover he is not there. The driver's side door is open and there is a puddle of what looks like engine oil on his seat. My neck hurts and I have a killer headache, but all of that fades in comparison to the smell. Now that the door is open, the brown fog has seeped in. There is a pervasive smell of hot, dry turd, so cloying and close that it is as though I have grown a mustache made entirely of human shit. Dad? I call, but there is no answer. I check my phone. 0 bars. I wonder if payphones still exist and realize that even if they do, there aren't any around me, and who even carries pocket change anymore? I decide to get out of the car. However it was that we managed to spin out of control, the car ended up safely in the center of the road. I wondered how safe that actually would have been on a road where there was any kind of traffic, and count myself fortunate that no one in their right mind would ever want to visit Sluent Hill. The world is quiet. Not even the sound of a breeze cuts through the brown fog. There? I tried to call out again, and I am cut off by my own retch. Just the thought of this eternal fart touching the back of my throat makes me want to throw up. I spit a few times and wipe the tears from my eyes. There's no sign of Dad, no sign of any living thing. What about the thing in the road? Was that a living thing? Apparently my subconscious mind doesn't think that being in a road accident is scary enough, because it's insisting that there are worse things to this fog than smelling like I gargled with truck-stop toilet water. That could have been anything, I say aloud. Probably nothing. My words feel close in the fog. I wonder if anyone would hear me scream. Just in case I was inclined to. What do you know about the things? A shiver runs up my spine, and I shake it off. The smell is unbearable, and that's my first concern. It's pretty unlikely my dad had the foresight to pack any heavy-duty respirator equipment, but I decided to check anyway. I open the trunk, and I am surprised by how neat it is. There's a car owner's manual next to a first aid kit. There's a road flare and a tire iron. Most importantly, though, there's a small suitcase that looks like an overnight bag. The presence of an overnight bag doesn't surprise me when I think about it. If anyone's going to accidentally fall asleep in their car, it's my dad. I unzip the case and breathe a sigh of relief through gritted teeth. It's just clothes and toiletries, but that's great. That's exactly what I need. The first thing I reach for is a small bottle of extra-strength mouthwash. I take a long swig and gargle for longer than I need to, enjoying the sensation of my mouth tasting of something that isn't raw ass. I look down at the mint body wash and briefly consider smearing some on my nose before spotting the bottle of aftershave and a long-sleeve shirt. After a couple of minutes of tearing and tying, I've made myself a comfortable face mask, and soaking a little aftershave on it at least gives me the impression that I'm breathing in an expensive, classy fart rather than chewing a dog turd. With the immediate problem somewhat mitigated, I turn my attention back to the foggy, lonely world around me. Dad? I know he couldn't have gone far. I suspected that maybe he had hit his head in the crash and wandered off in a daze. There had been no blood on the steering wheel or anything, but that didn't necessarily mean he hadn't been injured. Possibly, though, he had just wandered off in search of more booze. I noticed something else in the trunk. It's a small moleskin journal. I had no idea my dad kept a journal, but any clue into his state of mind was only going to help. I turned to the first page. It was blank but for one phrase. 9:20 a.m. Prostate exam. Clean butt. There is a big red tick next to clean butt. The rest of the pages in the journal are either missing or blank. There is a sound. I drop the journal as my spine locks rigid with fear. I hold my breath, and not just because of the smell. Silence, and then the sound again. A dragging sound. A slithering sound. My first thought is that it's Dad, that he's hurt and disorientated, and he's crawling back to the car. What else could it be? What do you know about the things? It takes all the courage I have to speak out. Dad? The slithering noise stops, and then resumes again, almost like something changing direction. Almost like whatever it is dragging itself out here now knows exactly where I am. The car radio blares a sudden burst of static and whining. I feel my cell phone vibrate in my pocket. My cold fingers find the tire iron of their own accord. I step back from the trunk, tire iron held like a baseball bat, trying to see in all directions at once. The slithering grows louder, and then it appears. At first I notice two pale legs, and think it is nothing so out of the ordinary. That the legs end in an ass is also nothing I'm shocked about, but that is where the thing ends entirely. Two spindly, knock-kneed legs ending in bulbous, pale butt cheeks and nothing else. No upper body at all, just a grey skin meeting smoothly over the ass as though a sculptor had given up halfway through. As I watch in horror, the thing pauses, turns its glistening crack to me, and then leans backward until I can see its awful grey sphincter. As I stare into that terrible eye, it opens with a hiss, and I realize the ass monster has passed a fart right at me. I don't stop to smell the nightmare roses. Fueled by disgust, panic, and primal instinct, I swing my tire iron at the thing. It connects on the right butt cheek, sending the monster staggering into the Jeep and then falling to the ground. It lets out another hissing fart and then wobbles back upright on its underdeveloped legs. I ready my weapon. This time, when it leans back, I have a flash of premonition, like something terrible is going to happen. It is something about the way the thing is jerking and convulsing, like a cat about to bring up a hairball. My body understands that the thing about to erupt from the monster's face/asshole is no mere fart this time. I jump back just as a jet of black liquid splashes across the road in front of me, and then stare down in dumb shock as the tarmac sizzles under the corrosive slime. I have no time to fully process what is happening because the thing is gagging and convulsing again, preparing a second shot. I jump in before it gets the chance, hopping over the shit puddle and sweeping the monster's legs out from under it. This time I don't let it get back up. I swing down the tire iron again and again, feeling whatever bone structure this creature has weaken and collapse under my relentless assault. Finally, the thing stops flailing its little legs and lets out one last long, dribbling fart. And then it is still. I am breathing huge, panicky gulps of breath, my shoulders heaving, my nerves caught between terror and triumph. Whatever relief I have is cut off by another blast of the radio. My cell phone once again vibrates in my pocket, longer and more violently this time. Dread floods my body. The fog finally begins to dissipate a little, and I wish to God it didn't, because now I see not one, not two, but dozens of shapes looming in the fog, each of them tottering forward on thin, knock-kneed legs. A scream rips its way unbidden from my chest. Dad! The only thing that hears me, it seems, are the butt monsters, who begin waddling toward me faster still. Ooh, creepy butt monsters. Zoe, the slurs add authenticity. Zoe, I'm feeling kind of judged right now, to be honest. JLD, better late than never. Bailey appreciates a page turn. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you appreciate the page turn. I put a lot of thought into that. See, I listen to you people. I shouldn't say you people. It's a terrible thing to say. That can be misinterpreted. I appreciate you fuckers. Is everybody enjoying the quiet tension of boy versus fart monsters? I am. Yeah. Well, what time are we at? 20 to midnight, my time. Rock and roll. What time is it where you are, America? Is it rodeo time? Whatever other times you may have out there. Oh no, I'm not an expert. Tamara Grunwald says, I've got a neat scarf. I do. This was made by E.M. Kaplan. It's very fetching. I'm wearing it indoors to create an atmosphere of festive coziness. And also, I didn't pay my heating bill. Got to keep the head and neck warm. I need to keep the torso warm. I have body fat for that. Austin, feeling the love. Is 5:41 in America or 4:41? You guys should just pick a time zone. Get over yourselves. You're not that big. You don't need 3 time zones. Yeah, you probably do. You're pretty big. Pretty big country. You want to get yourself a nice little rainy island like me. A little rainy island with 1 time zone. Keep it simple. Oh, it's nice to catch up with you guys anyway. Is it nice to catch up with me? I don't know. Just sort of interrupted your day here. Reading a Shingles book while slightly drunk. Is that what you want? I don't know. Imagine if I just turned up to your house doing that. It'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? Yeah, it'd be a little bit weird. But anyway, I haven't turned up to your house. I haven't done that. Let's not panic about things that haven't happened yet. Yet. Alright, I'm going to read. Tell you what, I'm going to read until this beer is gone. I'm going to put the beer down so I can get my Shingles book. Zoe Tassius, Scotland Rules. Alright. It's an oddly patriotic thing to come out there. Braveheart. Jeez. The first monster is about 8 feet away from me when I hear the cataclysmic roar of a gunshot. The thing is perforated with black sticky holes before it flies onto the pavement, utterly still but for its convulsing rectum. I hear a click-clack that I only ever hear in video games and action movies. A figure steps out of the fog confidently. From the tips of his polished boots to his helmet and mirrored sunglasses, the guy is a textbook drawing of what you'd want a cop to look like. Excuse me, I'm going to make some Christmas noises. Sorry about that. That he's wearing a cloth respirator suggests he's come prepared. That he's currently carrying a shotgun also speaks to his foresight. Get down, he commands, calmly. I don't need to be told twice. My tire iron slides from my already fear-weakened grip as I lay flat and put my hands over my ears. There are more shots and some guttural roars and screeches, then silence. Okay, you can get up now. I stagger to my feet. The cop looks down at me, his face unreadable. He slowly lowers his gun to the floor and puts his hand up, trying, I think, to present a less threatening image. Everything's okay now. They're gone. His words are reassuring, his tone of voice soothing. Something about him makes me feel almost instantly at ease, like he's familiar somehow, even with the helmet, mask, and the shades covering most of his face. What are those things? I stammer. The cop puts a finger to his jaw in an oddly familiar gesture. I gotta admit, I've never seen that many black bears in one place before. What? My already confused brain desperately tries to keep up with the circumstances. They weren't bears, they were... The officer shrugs. Hard to get a look at them in all this fart mist, but what else would they be? I gesture frantically to the corpse of the butt monster he just blew away, which I notice is now gone. There's a greasy stain on the pavement where it lay, but even that seems to be evaporating before my eyes. There was one right there, I say, struggling to keep the hysteria from my voice. The one you shot. The cop nods slowly. Yeah, must have run off. Most bears can take a shotgun blast from that range, and I was only aiming to wound. Hell, I wouldn't have even shot it at all, but it was so close to you. I swallow and try to remain reasonable. They weren't bears, officer. They were... The officer shrugs again. They were what? I know what I saw, but I also know how ridiculous it sounds as soon as I say it. Butt monsters? The cop nods slowly. Uh-huh. He gestures to the car. You in a road accident? I nod. It seems pretty silly to deny it. Okay. The cop comes close to me and puts a reassuring hand on my shoulder. I notice he's scanning my face, probably checking for signs of concussion. You here by yourself? He asks. My dad was... Tears start to roll from my eyes. My dad's gone. We crashed and I woke up and he was gone. The officer nods. What's your name, son? Jonathan. Jonathan Manson. Well, Johnny, I'm Officer Dearborn, and I'm going to help you find your dad, okay? I nod. Stay here. Officer Dearborn picks up his shotgun and then walks over to the jeep with a flashlight. He's there for a little while, peering at all kinds of things and making notes in a little book. When he returns, it's still impossible to read his expression. What were you two even doing out here? His voice is soft and reassuring, but there's an edge of demand there. My dad was taking me on a road trip. We're going to Sluin Hill. Why in the hell would you want to go there, son? I shrug. I think it was kind of a surprise. He looks at me for a while and then gestures for me to follow him. Come on, I've got to call this in. I follow him back through the fog until we happen upon his police motorcycle, parked neatly at the side of the road. On the short walk, Dearborn tries his radio but gets only the familiar static and whine for his troubles. Gosh darn it, he mutters. I can't get any phone bars either, I say. He nods like he's not surprised. There hasn't been much in the way of infrastructure investment around these parts since the shitstorm, but normally my radio is okay. Look, I might have to take you back to the station with me. We can't be here without communication, know what I'm saying? But my dad. He places his shotgun on a rear racking, sits on the bike and begins fumbling with the ignition key. Relax, son, he smiles confidently. We'll be back out here with a whole department. These hills can be tricky, especially in all this poop mist, so we can come back with drones, infrared, all kinds of cool stuff, trust me. He tries the ignition. The bike clicks. His smile fades. Well, ain't that a bugger? Battery seemed fine just this morning. I look around. The fog seems to be pressing in. What now? Dearborn stands up. We'll walk down back toward the station. My radio's bound to pick up something at some point. We have to find my dad, I beg. Please, he could be out there now, hurt, or worse. Officer Dearborn looks at me for a while. Look, son, I'm going to be straight with you. Only reason I'm up this way is we had a report from a gas station attendant down the way saying a driver of a vehicle matching the description of your dad's was behaving erratically. The clerk was worried that he might not actually be your dad, if you get my drift. I nod slowly. This isn't the first time I'd ran into this accusation. Once, when my dad took me to the park on a sunny day, he fell asleep on a jungle gym, and some concerned parents acted pretty much the same as Dearborn was acting now. They wanted to know if I'd been kidnapped by a lunatic. It's a fair assumption, I guess. Look, officer, my dad's pretty eccentric, but he's definitely my dad, and he's never hurt anyone. I think on that a moment. That I know of. Dearborn nods and stands a little while in contemplative silence. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look for your dad, but you're going to stay close to me at all times, understand? Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Dearborn picks up his shotgun again and catches me staring at him. Just in case of more bears, he says, quickly. I nod. I'm confused as to why he'd want to clarify that. Did he think that I thought he was going to shoot my dad? Why did he think that? I feel uneasy. But after my run-in with the bears, I'm just glad he's coming into the situation armed and ready. Together we walk back to the car. Dearborn scans around, head bowed as he traces the pavement surrounding the vehicle. I realize he's looking for clues as to which direction my dad might have headed. I know with a sinking feeling that he's probably looking for blood. Hey, what's this? He calls. I run over. Dearborn is holding up my dad's jeans. The seat of them is slick with the same substance pulled on the driver's side seat. I get the impression that stain would smell pretty funky if the world didn't already smell like air-fried cow pie. Those are my dad's, I say. He must have, well, we just had some pretty ripe burritos and the crash must have scared him a little. Dearborn nods and with forced casualness says, Johnny, I couldn't help notice but a number of liquor bottles in your dad's vehicle. Was he in a sober state of mind last time you saw him? I see little point in covering for my dad's alcoholism. If he was walking around pantless, people are probably going to put two and two together. Yeah, he'd been drinking. Dearborn nods. Thank you for being honest. Now, I can't tell if the cop is wrinkling his nose under his mask, but I assume he is. He puts his hand into my dad's pants pockets and pulls out a single card. He looks at it a while and then hands it to me. This mean anything to you? It's a plain business card, weathered at the edges as though left in someone's wallet for years. Sluent Hill Dry Cleaners. It's like the stains were never there. Dearborn is looking at me, his expression unreadable for his mirror shades and respirator. I don't know what this is, I say. I've never been there. Dearborn sighs. Well, clearly your dad has. What's his connection to this place? I'm not sure. He didn't say much other than he'd been here before. Dearborn nods to himself again. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to head into town. Main Street wasn't too affected by the shitstorm. As far as I know, the dry cleaners is still standing. If your dad's there, then great. And if not, there should at least be a landline phone we can use and get some more help. Sound good? I nod. And do you promise to stay close? I nod again. Okay then, let's go. Wait. I head back around to the car trunk. The small carry case has straps that can function like a backpack. I empty it of everything but the torn shirt and the toiletries. Then I stuff in the first aid kit and the road flare. I put the pack over my shoulders and then reach down for my discarded tire iron. Dearborn is waiting for me with a shotgun at the ready as I return. "What's all that?" he says. I gesture to the pack. "The trunk has a first aid kit," I say. "You never know." "Smart," says Dearborn. "And the tire iron?" I shrug. "You never know." Okay. Sean McLaughlin, your tech? What does that even mean? What are you talking about, Sean? Is this still... I've basically stopped just to see if it's still streaming. I'm a little bit paranoid. I won't lie. And to check that everybody's still having a merry, festive period of time, I should clarify. Man, I really want to itch my nose. Can I do that on camera? Are we that familiar with each other? I don't think I should. I think that'd be unprofessional. Alright, do we want one more segment of this turd story? You feeling it? Internet land? Yeah, one more section. I want to get to the shitterpeed. And I'm sure you do too. Let me just jumble my windows around. Make a Christmas noise. Pardon me. The road to Sluent Hill is on it. I'm just reading from this bottle now. That's how it's going to happen. The illusion is shattered. The professionalism is out the window. The road to Sluent Hill is on a shallow but persistent incline, and as we walk I can already feel tiredness setting in. Dearborn marches through the mist without hesitation, but I stare hard at the roadside until I can be sure that every approaching grey smudge is just a rock or a trash can and not another monster. The mist is silent, a peculiar silence I associate with 2 early mornings and 2 sad days. It becomes oddly unbearable, and so I talk before the quiet can choke me as surely as the smell. "So, do you have much cause to go to Sluent Hill? I mean, many call-outs or whatever?" Dearborn shakes his head. "No call-outs, no. Not many people stayed after the accident. Just those too poor or too crazy to move on. Or those who simply enjoy the smell of barbecued colon. But before that, I actually lived there. It was an okay little place for the most part. Had its weirdos, of course, the occasional cult and whatnot." "Cult?" There is a growl. Dearborn stops dead still, as do I. The growl rumbles through the quiet again, and I look down, realizing it's my guts making the noise. It's hard to tell if Dearborn is concerned or amused, not being able to see his face. "You hungry, son?" he asks. No. The opposite, actually." "Oh." Dearborn looks around. "I guess you can go into the bushes?" I look at the bushes, or rather I look at the ominous shapes in the fog that are probably bushes. "Yeah, I think I can hold it." "If you're sure." Dearborn starts walking again, and I follow, not wanting there to be too much space between us. Truth is, I'm not sure what I'm holding and how long I can hold it. If ever there were a time not to trust a fart, this would be it. I start to sweat a little, and I'm not sure if it's because of the climb or because my sphincter is a lone wizard holding back a turd bull rag of dire proportions. My stomach gurgles again, a signal whistle that the crap factory is working a double shift. Curse you, Polo Polo Polo, and your delicious but deadly May beef burritos. I'm genuinely worried that I'm either going to shit myself or get eaten by something while taking a shit, when Dearborn suddenly stops, holding up a fist like they do in war movies. What the heck? I hear him mutter. In the center of the road there is a pothole. A big one, nearly 6 feet across by the look of it. Dearborn walks over to examine it and lets out a small grunt of laughter. For some reason, peering down, I think I expected that beneath the broken tarmac there'd be an endless void. There isn't, though. It's just mud, kind of disappearing into a conical shape. The sides of the cone are deeply ridged. I realize what Dearborn was laughing about. Kinda looks like a butthole, he says, if you'll pardon my French. There is a rumble, and this time it isn't from my guts. I notice a few small pebbles skitter down the sides of the pothole/butthole. The whole thing seems to quiver. Oh no. Before I can articulate a warning, the muddy butthole flares open with a roaring gasp of air. Dearborn and I are both knocked on our asses as a creature emerges from the underground, bursting into the air and towering the height of a house. It's some kind of shit centipede. That's the only description my brain can come up with. That and the even less useful a totem pole of turds. The thing's head is crowned by 2 bulbous yellow eyes that are inevitably and horribly compared to corn. It snaps at the air with thin, stringy mandibles and lets out a gassy hiss. "Oh my God," Dearborn cries. "That's the biggest conga line of bears I ever saw." Before I can ask Dearborn if Dearborn has lost his damn mind, the shitapede descends, smashing into the concrete where the cop was lying just seconds ago before he rolled out of the way. I roll to my feet, readying my suddenly very inadequate-looking tire iron. The thing rears up and is ready to strike as Dearborn crawls across the pavement to the shotgun that has skittered out of his hand. He's a sitting duck. "Hey!" I shout, and that really is the be-all and end-all of my battle plan. The creature twists and turns its gross corn-eyed gaze down on me. I heft my tire iron, and for all the good it will do, the thing screeches, and I stare into its dark, tarry maw. Suddenly there is gunfire. The thing's corn-like eyes explode one after the other in a shower of transparent juice, and it squeals in agony, thrashing blindly. There are more shots, and more chunks of turd fly from the thing's body. Dearborn is shooting at it methodically and calmly until a dry click signals he is out of ammo. "Ah, jeez," he mutters, before the shitapede sweeps down blindly and knocks him flying. As the creature begins swaying across the road looking for its prey, I know I don't have much time to act. I reach into my pack and retrieve the road flare, striking the cap on the spark button. It hisses into life, turning the brown mist red. I wait until the creature is moving away from me, and then jab the flare into its flesh. It shrieks and turns towards me, but thankfully it seems to be repulsed by the heat of the fire. I'm safe for now, until the flare becomes too hot to hold, in about 10 seconds. After that, I have exactly as much of a game plan as I usually do. I jump as a hand falls on my shoulder. It's Dearborn, looking no worse for wear other than some scuffs on his helmet, and road-covering people binds the flare to the tire iron, making a serviceable torch. Then he begins jabbing the torch at the beast like a Neanderthal fucking with a mammoth. The beast flinches and shrieks, trying to get away from the flame while seemingly being rooted to the hole it was birthed from. "This thing's got maybe 10 minutes of burn time," Dearborn says. "That's certainly enough to give you a head start." "What? What about you?" "Don't worry about me, son. I can keep it busy while you make a run for it. Just keep heading up to town. You can get help there, I think this is." "I'll be right behind you," Dearborn says reassuringly. "I used to run track. When the flare starts faltering, I'll be on your tail in no time at all, I promise." As if to emphasize his point, the flare splutters and the beast yelps in response. "It's all under control," says Dearborn with complete confidence. I'm not gonna let anything bad happen to you, but you have to trust me and you have to be brave." I swallow and nod my head, summoning what courage I have left. "Now run," Dearborn orders, and I run, leaving the glow of the flare and the shriek of the beast behind me. There we go. Bailey Roma having a very holly jolly time. Glad to hear it. It's been nice to catch up with you guys. That was a sample from Silent but Deadly Hill on day 7 of the 12 days of Shingles. It's 12 days of Shingles. I was about to say 12 days of Shinglemas, but I believe that's inaccurate. Well, I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too. I hope you're inspired to read along with the 12 Days of Shingles. And again, the next one, I believe, is by R.E. Carr. So pop along. Check us out in our Patreon. Check us out on our Facebook group. Check us out on our YouTube channel. You're already here. You know where we are. Make sure you like and subscribe. Smash all the relevant buttons. Smash them. Don't just press them. Destroy them. Destroy those buttons. And Mouse of Glen says bangers and mash, and we're all out of mash. Well, Mouse of Glen, I'm glad you just sort of rolled in here at the 11th hour with what I assume is a head full of speed. All more power to you, Mouse of Glen. Well, I've had a good time. I hope you have too. It's a bit like sex, isn't it? I've had a good time. Good night.